Hi everyone, welcome back. In the previous video, we learnt about the tips for face-to-face interviews. In this video, we will now learn about the tips for telephonic and video interview. Let us begin by understanding what is a telephonic or video interview. A telephonic or video interview is often one of the initial rounds of assessment during the hiring process. Companies often use it to screen candidates from a large pool of applicants before inviting them for the personal or face-to-face interview. While a telephonic interview is likely to be the first round of interview in off-campus placements, it is not necessarily going to be the only one. It is possible that subsequent rounds of interviews may also happen over a phone call or a video call. It all depends on the situation and how the company wants to conduct its hiring process. Now that we have understood what they mean, let us understand how they are conducted. Well, a telephonic interview is conducted over a regular phone call. A video interview can be conducted using various online platforms. Some of the most commonly used ones include Skype, Google Hangouts, and Google Meet. The next question that comes to mind is, how do you ace a telephonic and video interview? So, let us dive in and see some important tips that can help you ace your telephonic or video interview. Although the majority of the tips are the same for both telephonic and video interviews, but some of them are only applicable in case of video interviews. We will let you know wherever that is the case. The first point we will talk about here is strong preparation and research. Just because it is a telephonic or video interview does not mean that it is going to be a random conversation. As mentioned in the beginning of this video, it is an equally important step of the hiring process as any other stage. So, you should research properly about the company before the interview and be prepared with the details about them and the role you have applied for. You don't have to memorize your answers, but at the same time, make sure that you are fluent during the interview. The next important thing that you should ensure for a telephonic or video interview is to be at a quiet place with a good mobile network and Wi-Fi signal. Most of the telephonic interviews are pre-scheduled. If so, there is no excuse for you to be inside a noisy canteen or on the road or in that corner of your campus where the signal is weak when the interviewer calls. It not only makes the conversation difficult but also leaves a poor impression of you on the recruiter. If you have access to one, a landline works the best for a telephonic interview. In case of a video call, choose a quiet room with a computer or laptop with a good internet connection and uninterrupted power. Also, please ensure that the room is well lit and use a headphone with a mic for better voice clarity. Now, even though you ensured that the connectivity was good from your end, let's say the call gets disconnected in between. Now, what should you do in such a situation? Well, the first step would be to not panic. And the second would be to wait for the interviewer for a minute or two to call you back. Else, do not hesitate to call him or her back yourself. Next is to dress in a professional manner. Well, yes, your appearance not only matters in a face-to-face interview but holds equal importance during a video interview as well. Yes, it may not be applicable during a telephonic interview, but for a video interview, make sure that you dress professionally in formal clothes just like you would for a face-to-face interview. You never know how long a conversation may take and when you may have to call back if the call disconnects. So, please make sure that your phone and laptop are completely charged and you have sufficient balance if you are required to give a call back. Another important thing that you should keep in mind is to disable the call waiting functionality of your phone before the telephonic or video interview. Some phones have this feature where if you get another call in between your ongoing one, it starts notifying you in the form of a beep. This can be distracting and will give a poor impression about you to the employer. Just because it is a telephonic or video interview, it does not mean it may only be a verbal conversation. You should always be ready with your resume, a pen, a few blank sheets of paper, and your notes about the sector, company, profile, and questions you want to ask the interviewer. You don't want to be searching for any of these when the interviewer's first question is, "Talk me through your resume," or if he or she asks you to do a quick sum or solve a puzzle. You can also refer to your notes about the sector, company, profile, and the questions you want to ask during the interview. Just like a normal phone call is a two-way interaction, please treat the telephonic or video interview also the same way and not as an interrogation. Be curious to know more about the company and your role. Also, don't let the stipend or salary be your first question. The next important tip that you should keep in mind is to not rush through the conversation. You can ensure this in 4 ways. First is, always let the interviewer finish speaking before you start answering. Second is, do not hesitate to let the interviewer know if you are not able to hear him or her properly or ask them to repeat. Third is, ask the interviewer if he or she is able to hear you properly and then proceed to answer in a calm and confident manner. But then again, you need not ask this before answering every single question. Fourth is, do not mumble or be too loud and speak clearly during the interview. Another important tip that you should follow during a telephonic and video interview is to be confident and relaxed during the interview. Remember, they already like you. So, maintain a positive body language, go through your application, and make a note of the important skills and experiences you want to highlight during the interview. This will simply make you more confident and prepared for the interview. Take deep breaths before answering the phone and keep a bottle of water nearby. Doing mock practice either with your friends or in front of a mirror can also prove helpful in building your confidence. And lastly, you should send a thank you email after the call. If you have the email ID of the interviewer or the person who arranged for the call, always send a thank you email after the interview requesting to let you know the next steps in the process. It shows the employer that you are genuinely interested in the role and leaves a good impression about you. Now, you can take a note of the above tips and ensure that you follow them during a telephonic or video interview. But let's say you are somewhere outside and are in a crowded place and you get an unscheduled interview call without prior notice. Well, yes, often companies do that to see how spontaneous you are. But if you really are not in a position to attend the call, like the situation we spoke about, or are busy with something important, it is okay to request the interviewer if you can call him or her back at a more appropriate time. So, in this video, we have understood what is a telephonic and video interview, how are they conducted, and at the end, we learned some important tips for telephonic and video interviews. Now, let us take a look at an interesting fact about the interviews. Did you know, feeling the pressure to say yes to every question or act like you know everything during any kind of interview, whether it is telephonic or face-to-face, is one of the common reasons why people do not get selected after an interview. Hiring managers do not expect you to know everything that they ask you about. So, it is okay to say a no once or twice during the interview. You will be surprised to see how many times honesty pays off better than saying a yes to everything. With this, we come to the end of this video. In the next text chapter, we will learn about the commonly asked HR questions. See you in the next one.